Auburn Online students. Today we are going to be looking at how do we solve integer problems by using the order of operations. That's our essential question. We want to know, how does this work? So we're going to start out first by looking at our problem. And now this problem is going to look very similar to ones that you've solved in the past. So when we look at this problem, the first problem that we have, it says 3 plus 6 squared divided by 2. Okay, so our very first thing we want to talk about is how, this how part. So we're going to look at using it's a rule, the order of operations. We follow rules in math, and one of the rules that we follow is the order of operations. This means that when we see more than one operation, like here I have addition, I have an exponent, and I have division, I have to go in a certain specific order. If I don't go in that order, then I will not solve this problem correctly. So, we're going to look at how do we solve this. So when we solve, we're going to use the rule order of operations, and a lot of people just use different ways to remember what the order of operations are. However, I do not want you to use, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. We don't care about Aunt Sally unless really you truly have an Aunt Sally. We just don't need Aunt Sally. Okay, in math. It doesn't make any sense, and it forces you to do the problem out of order, and I will show you what I mean. So instead, we're going to use Pemdas. You can also use gems if you prefer gems, or the other ones that they have out there. I prefer Pemdas. And when I write Pemdas, I'm going to write it like this. Notice that I've written multiplication and division, or division and multiplication, going either direction. It doesn't matter which comes first, as long as you go from left to right. It doesn't matter. If division comes first, we'll do division. If multiplication comes first, we will do multiplication. And then addition and subtraction, or subtraction and addition. If you're using, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, this whole side of things is left off. And so we want to make sure that we're not forgetting we can go from left to right. So if you need to use something like, please excuse dear mom, she's angry, I don't know, you can. I mean, you can use whatever you need to in order to remember it. So make sure that we're going from following these rules. Now, what does that mean, rules? Well, it's a way that we have to solve in order to do it in the correct order. So first, let's talk about parentheses. Parentheses can look like many different things. Parentheses could be normal everyday parentheses. They could also be brackets like this. Or they could be fancy schmancy brackets. All of these are considered grouping symbols. They all fall under parentheses, or if you're using gems, it falls under the grouping symbols. Now, exponents. Exponents look like this. You would have a number and have it to the power of something. Multiplication and division. This is from left to right. Always going left to right. Same thing with addition and subtraction. We want to go from left to right. And the reason why I'm explaining this to you again is because sometimes students don't understand that you have to do the left to right part. And that's okay if you don't know that. That's why we're going to fix that misconception. So when I do solving an order of operations problem, we're just going to start out with a checklist like this off to the side. our checklist is going to go with parentheses first. What I do is I look at my problem. Do I have any parentheses? No. If I don't, that's a free. I just do a free check mark. Then I jump down to exponents. I do have exponents. Well, I know that 6 squared really means that this is 6 times 6. And then I can drop down the rest of the problem and finish solving out 6 times 6 right here. Well, 6 times 6 I know is 36. All right. Now, notice how as I drop this down, it starts to make a triangle shape, and you will see that towards the end. What we want to do is narrow everything down into one answer. All right, so I am done with my exponents. Boom, you're gone. Okay, now I need to either multiply or divide from left to right. Well, I'm going to start on the left of my problem, and I'm going to go until I run into a division or multiplication sign. Boom, right there. Back up 1, and it says 36 divided by 2. 36 divided by 2. So I'm going to solve 36, and I'm going to divide that by 2. So I know that 36 divided by 2 is 18. And I can now continue to drop down the last of the problem. It's really important that you don't forget to bring down each step. I'm done with multiplication and division, and now all I have left is addition and subtraction. So I have 18 plus 3, which gives me 21. And there is my answer right there. We can circle that. Notice again how I've made this pizza shape or this like triangle that's upside down, and I've narrowed everything down, checking off every step of the way. Boom, got it. Okay, let's do one that's a little bit more challenging, and then I'm going to throw some negative problems at you. Some that have negatives, so that way we can remember how to do those as well. Okay, so this next problem, the next problem I have, it says it says 4 times 3 to the third minus 8 divided by 2. Okay, again, I'm going to put my order of operations problem out to the side, or my rules. My rules are going to go out to the side, so I can check them off as I go. And the first place that I want to start is inside the parentheses. So in my parentheses, I have 2 different operations. I have an exponent and I have a subtraction. So I'm going to start with the exponents because that will come first. So if you're inside your parentheses, you start the order of operations all over again. Sometimes you might have parentheses inside of parentheses, but we don't have that. So we're going to go with exponents. We know that this is the same as saying 3 times 3 minus 8. All of that is inside my parentheses. Well, 3 times 3, that's 9. I'm just going to keep working my way down. Okay, I'm done with my exponents. I'm still not done with my parentheses though. I still have something in them, so I need to continue working on those. 9 minus 8 gives me 1. I'm going to keep that in there. I'm done now, and the reason why I kept it inside the parentheses is because this means 4 groups of 1 or 4 times 1. If I wanted to get rid of my parentheses altogether, I could rewrite it with the multiplication sign in there. So 4 times 1 gives me 4. Again, I'm going from left to right, and 4 divided by 2 gives me 2. So I don't have any addition or subtraction. My answer makes sense. I've narrowed it down. The thing with order of operations is that sometimes these problems can take a lot of paper. But if you notice, this slice of pizza is bigger than this one. But again, both using an upside down triangle to narrow step by step. Order of operations is a really important rule to know. There are tons of people out in the world right now who do not complete the order of operations correctly. And you will see that on different social media outlets. Like, there are people who solve them wrong and then they get into fights over who's right and who's wrong. But by being able to follow the order of operations correctly, you'll get to walk away from those situations knowing that you did them correctly. All right, now we're going to throw in a problem that has a negative in it, or negatives, so that way we can see also how to do the integers when there's negatives in there. All right, so letter C. All right, letter C says that I have 8 minus 3 times a negative 4 divided by 2. Apparently, in order of operations, we always do a divided by 2. Look at this, divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. Not really, but it just seems like we do. Okay, again, just because there's a negative number in it doesn't mean that we do something completely different. We're still going to do the exact same thing. Except we're going to now have to remember how to multiply or add or subtract or divide by our negative integers. So we have parentheses, exponents, same thing, left to right, left to right. So let's start with our parentheses. Okay, well, our parentheses here are just telling us that we're going to be multiplying times something, right? Because we have this dot right here. So there's only one number in there. We don't do anything with it. So we can go ahead and cross that off. Same thing with exponents. There aren't any. But we do have a 3 times a negative 4. So this says that I have 3 groups of negative 4. Well, I know from my rules, or I can draw it out with chips, but if I had 3 groups of negative 4, that means that I had negative 4, negative 4, negative 4. So 4, 8, and 12. So that tells me that I have negative 12. So I know that 3 times negative 4 is a negative 12. I'm then going to keep writing down the rest of the problem. Okay, now this is really weird right here because I have, right here, I have 8, oh, I forgot my minus sign. So there's my negative 12. So I had 3 groups of negative 4, which is negative 12. I then needed to still bring down this negative sign or this subtraction sign here. So now I have 8, and I have to do the opposite. I had negative times a negative. That gives me a positive. So remember that this is the same thing as saying that I have 8 minus 1 times negative 12. Negative 1 times a negative 12 just gives you a positive 12. I can then drop down my 2. So I don't want to forget about that too. So my problem now, I got this negative 1 because the 1 means that I have to remove one group of negative 12, which gives me a positive 12. So if I'm removing negativity, I'm ending up with positives, right? So when I remove negatives, I get positives. So that's like in your life, if you're feeling negative and you want to feel positive, remove all that negativity and you'll feel positive again. Okay, so back to this. I'm still not done with multiplication and division. I still have division right here. So what I need to do is I need to do 12 divided by 2 for crossing that out. Well, 12 divided by 2 is 6. And 8 plus 6, 8 plus 6 gives me 14. So my answer here is 14. I've gone down just like a triangle. Again, big giant Dorito or no addition or subtraction. I'm done with that. Giant slice of pizza. Everything's organized. I didn't forget any numbers. And that's where it went. This one, because it had the negative, I had to slow down and I really had to think about it. Okay, I am going to give you two try-its to do, and then I will let you answer your essential question. All right, so let's look at our try-its. So the first try-it that I would like for you to do is, so try-it number 1 says negative 20 divided by 3 plus 7 times 2. There's the first one. And then try-it number 2. Try-it number 2 says, let's do this one. Try-it number 2. It says a negative 8 minus 8 times 8 minus 4. All right. So go ahead and hit pause right now so you don't hear me speaking, because I'm going to go through and I'm going to solve these problems for you. When you're ready, hit play. That way you can check your understanding of integers and order of operations. So go ahead and hit pause right now and then come back when you're ready. All right, our first thing that we need to look at is our checklist. I can't survive without my checklist. All right, I have P, which tells me parentheses. So I am 3 plus 7, and that gives me 10 divided by times 2. I'm going to write all this down here. I didn't need my parentheses right here, but I left them in just because I did. I don't know why. All right, now I'm done with parentheses. I have no exponents, so I'm going to do multiplication and division from left to right. So start on the left, and the first thing I run into is a division sign. So I am going to do 20 divided by 10. 20 divided by 10. I know that there's one negative sign, which means that I'm just going to have a negative here. I also can read this as I'm removing, right? I have negative 20, and I need to divide those red chips into 10 equal groups. So I have negative 20 divided into 10 equal groups, and that is going to give me 2. 2. A negative 2. I then have my 2 that I need to continue to drop down. And because if I had negative 20 and I put it into 10 equal groups, and each one is negative 2 or 2 red chips, 2 red chips times 2 yellow chips, I'm still doing the same thing, right? I need 2 groups of negative 2, and 2 groups of negative 2 gives me negative 4. So if I had 2 groups of negative 2, I would have negative 4. So my answer is negative 4. Again, I made the triangle. Looks like a big giant Dorito. Actually, that one looks more like a tortilla chip to me. I don't know. We've done all of that. Okay, let's look at the next one. How did you do on this one? How did you do? Did you have to go back and look at your notes on the rules? How did you do? All right, let's go ahead and look at this one. Our last one. This one has a lot of 8s in it. Let's not let that confuse us, okay? All right, let's start here. We have -8 minus 8 times, I'm going to throw this multiplication sign in there so I don't get confused. 8 minus 4. So let's start in parentheses. This one is already kind of simplified, right? It doesn't have anything to do, so we're just going to leave it. We're going to keep going. 8 minus 4. Well, I know 8 minus 4, that's just 4. So I'm going to write a 4, and I'm going to just drop down the rest of this problem. All right, now I'm ready for exponents. There aren't any. I'm ready for multiplication or division from left to right. Okay, look at this. I have -8 times 4. I have -8 times 4, or I can think of this as 8 times 4 and bring down my subtraction sign. Your choice. If I had 4 groups of -8, I know that that is 32, or -32. Am I done with multiplication and division? I sure am. So now I just need to bring down this -8, and -8 minus 32. So I could rephrase this as plus a -32 if I wanted to think of it that way. If I had -8 and then I add on -32 more, what do I get? Or if I had -$8 and I spend $32 more, how much do I have? Well, 32, and then you just keep going, right? So I had -8 and I need to keep going further away from 0. I am going to end up with -40. So I end up with -40. All right, how did you do on this one? Again, this triangle is kind of funky. It just really didn't make that awesome of a triangle in that one. But everything's all narrowed down. I've organized my work. I've checked off. I'm all out of things to do here. So right now, I want you to think back. How did we solve integer problems with the order of operations? I stepped you through a couple different problems here. And then I want you to answer your essential question. So go ahead and answer your essential question. How do we solve integer problems using the order of operations at the top? Go ahead and answer it here. And then out to the side, put your rating. 1, I have no clue what we're doing. I don't remember this from 6th grade. I don't remember this from 7th grade. And I really need some extra help here. 2, I was okay until you threw in the negatives, and now I need to review my negative rules. Or 3, I'm doing awesome. I totally understand this. I got both of my try-its right, and I am ready to do some more problems. Okay, go ahead and rate your understanding, answer your essential question, and then head on over to the next part of your lesson, which would be your practice work, or come on back to the Google Meet and ask me for help. As always, make it a great day, the manta ray way, and I will see you all tomorrow.